right. I am Alex Allen, and we're here with Whitesnake's guitarist, Joel Hoekstra. Mr. Hoekstra, what's happening?
We have a day off in San Diego right now. We've been out touring the U.S. with Foreigner this summer. So I'm looking out at just an absolute beautiful scene right now out of my window on a day off. Life is good.
That's awesome, man. Describe that to me.
Gosh, I don't even know what body of water I'm looking at. I'm sure it leads to the Pacific, but it's more like a bay. It has an aircraft carrier in it, so I'm right on the water and looking out at a beautiful, whatever, I'm sure 90-degree sunny day, but feels like a nice breeze and everything, so beautiful.
Sounds good. We don't have an ocean over here. We do have a lake, though. It's called Christina Lake.
Okay.
How far up north have you been?
Just really in Canada, I've only played Toronto, Montreal, Regina, and Vancouver.
Okay.
That's it. Very limited.
Nice. I've been to Vancouver. You'll like this area, I think, a lot. It's very mountainous, very windy and twisty. It's pretty cool. Probably different from like Chicago and New York.
Yeah, it sounds a little different than that, but that's all good. That's what I like about touring.
Absolutely, man. And speaking of touring, of course, we're here to talk about CanaFest. We're all very excited here in Grand Forks. Who are some of the artists that are going to be hitting the stage that maybe you're excited to hit the stage with?
I guess it's us, and Brett Michaels is on before us, and trying to think who else is on the gig. I know Gene Simmons is playing the night before.
Yeah.
Mark Farner's playing, isn't he?
Yep.
All of them. I mean, just, hey, I like everything, honestly. It might sound cliche, but that's the truth. So I have a pretty open mind, and I'm sure I'll enjoy everything I hear.
Fair enough, man. Has your music changed at all throughout your career?
They have. They've just kind of broadened and loosened. When I was a kid and I started out, it had to be like heavy metal, Black Sabbath, Ozzy, AC/DC. That was kind of it, and not much else could crack in there. And as I got older, I kind of, some of the stuff that's more melodic and lighter, like Journey or Foreigner, got in there, and more progressive bands like Rush and Yes were big influences on me, and then classic rock, Pink Floyd, The Doors, Zeppelin, you name it. And so things really broadened out, and the guitar scene really helped with that growing up. Just, it was a very competitive, learn how to play great guitar era, the shred era, people would call it, but that really opened you up to listening to jazz and to classical and to different styles. And so everything kind of appeals to me at this point, as long as it has some kind of talent behind it.
Fair enough, man. I guess the word talent is a big one in today's age of music every now and then, I suppose. But
yeah, it's fleeting in some areas, but what can you do?
Yeah, fair enough, man. Fair enough. And I want to go back to the guitar thing. I played guitar for a few years, man. Like, I don't have much to talk about there, but like, you've got tutorials, everything, man. I've really been watching a lot of your guitar stuff. Tell me about that. Like, when did you realize that you really had a gift, and what was the drive like there?
I honestly don't know if I still have realized I really have a gift. I just try and work, and thank you. But Guitar World was great in terms of those tutorials, in terms of exposure. First, I did like these Lick of the Days, they called it, that they were running for a while, and I think I may have taped, 8 or 10 of those, something like that. And then they made me a monthly columnist, so I did like a playthrough of one of my songs and taught that, and then I just every month would have a page in the magazine that also was released as a YouTube video that people can check out. It was a little challenging because when you write for a guitar magazine, you can only really have your lesson be about 12 to 16 bars of music. So it's not like an hour-long lesson with somebody where you can show them a lot of stuff that's going to benefit. You have to really kind of limit it. Then you hopefully hope that a good amount of people will enjoy the small amount that you can show them in that time. But it's been great for exposure. That Monster Pentatonic tutorial I have up has a whole lot of views on it, and that's amazing to me. So it's big thanks to Guitar World for all that stuff, for sure.
Absolutely, man. Talking more about music, do you want to talk about Flesh and Blood? Because from what I'm reading, you're quite excited about that.
Yeah, I absolutely have a new album coming out at the start of 2019. That's all new, brand new, original Whitesnake material, first one in a while. So the whole band is excited about that, and don't know exactly which songs David is going to use yet because we recorded 18. So we'll see exactly what gets released and what order. But there's something there for everybody. All the classic Whitesnake elements are there.
Awesome. Is there something specific you're the most excited about, or?
No, not really. I mean, just the opportunity itself.
And do you think we'll see anything reminiscent of the Purple album, or as I guess you just said, is kind of a mix of everything?
I think that there's stuff on there that's Purple influenced, because I think that Whitesnake has always had a Deep Purple influence in the band. So yeah, look, there's some material that harkens back to the early days of Whitesnake. That's just kind of bluesy based, and there's some that sounds a little bit more like what David refers to as the Geffen era, the Slide It In '87 album, Slip of the Tongue sound. And then there's some stuff there that's reminiscent of the most recent era, Good to Be Bad and Forevermore, of those records. And then there's some stuff that's just what David even says is kind of brand new, uncharted territory for Whitesnake. So we'll see what he picks for the album, and hopefully there will be something there for everybody. I really do think there will be.
Awesome. I mean, uncharted territory, that sounds good enough to me, man. Let's talk about, you had about 6 years performing with Night Ranger. How does that feel as opposed to like playing music with Whitesnake? Is there a big difference there?
Yeah, there's differences, but there's similarities too. I learned a lot with the Night Ranger guys. That was a gig that took me really from being totally unknown in the hard rock scene to getting myself out there touring. And so that was a great learning experience and lots of great times with those guys. And joining Whitesnake is just kind of up to that, and pushed it out internationally a bit more. And I think just to kind of spread my individual name out there quite a bit more. But both are great opportunities, and there are, of course, differences, and there are also similarities. So sorry for the long-winded answer.
No, it's a good answer nonetheless. Do you have like favorite things to perform with either band? Or?
No. I don't really operate on the whole favorites thing very much. I'm just kind of a guy who believes in putting in the work and doing the best you can with each situation. And then hopefully that leads you somewhere. So I don't necessarily put my scope on where I want to head. I let life take me there, but make sure that I always do the best I can with every situation. Hard work is definitely the key. And it's funny, I see a lot of musicians that want to make it big or get a big break that don't realize it's just about putting in a whole lot of hard work. And if you're willing to do that, it's still out there for musicians, I think.
Absolutely. And our region here, where we are, it's called the Kootenay Boundary, and it's just full of artists, of musicians, of fans as well. Would you say that it's easier to break through now in music than it used to be, or vice versa? Or do you think there's a change to it at all? Or
well, you can get international exposure quicker because the world has shrunk due to the internet, right? You can make a great YouTube video of yourself if you're immensely talented and have that recognized immediately. Back when I was a kid, there was none of that. You didn't even realize what you were up against because there was no YouTube or checking out other up-and-coming players from different areas of the world. That didn't exist. But unfortunately, now that everything has kind of come down to streaming, I think it's more difficult for people to make money playing music, and then that's in turn limits the amount of time they can spend playing music. So I'm hoping, if I had a hope, is that the business will get restructured a little bit to reflect what the artist deserves with streaming, and not so much for myself. I mean, I'm fine at this stage of the game, but it's just kind of for young artists coming up. Like, I want to see them be able to gig and make new music and play music and make a living. It's people think it's like greedy that musicians want money. It's really funny. It's like, well, you want to get paid when you go to work, right? How did you think we're going to do this? So, and again, I'm saying it more for kind of the up and comers, and I'm sure there's a lot of very talented people there in your neck of the woods. And it's just a matter of, are they? Does the window close for them because they can't make money? And that's where I want to see people succeed, the talented people that deserve to be able to make a living and pursue it.
Tell me about more about that, pursuing that throughout your career. Like, it's, I had a really good point there, and I completely forgot the sentence I was going to
No. I mean, it's in terms of pursue, like the window is always, I look at it like it's a window that's always kind of shutting when you start out to play music. And it's whether or not you can get through that window in time without having get to the point where you just can't afford to live. And thankfully, I think like I just had such a love for guitar and for music that it took me through a lot of the hard times without realizing I was going through hard times. I look back now and realize that I went through some stuff that was like, wow, well, I probably should have just given up. But I never thought about it back then, and I just kept going.
I think a lot of the people in our area can really relate to that one right now. We just got hit with a historic flood, actually, the biggest flood British Columbia, which is our province, has ever seen. Thousands affected. People have lost their homes here. Just on the note of what you just said, is there anything you would have to say to those people in the town that you're going to be performing in?
Oh gosh, that's a really deep, huge deal. I would feel not qualified to comment on it.
That's pretty
without sounding like an unqualified jerk talking about it. But obviously, I want those people to be able to get their lives back, and hope and pray that they do.
Absolutely, man. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. I'm talking to people.
No, it's all good. I'm glad you told me about it. I actually hadn't heard about it, so it's good to know.
Absolutely, man. There's people here that are really looking at what you're doing as like, the light at the end of the tunnel. People are really, really stoked for CanadaFest. So,
well, cool. It means a lot to us to have the opportunity to come up and play, and every opportunity. And so I'll, just like all the other gigs I do, be making sure that I'm really focused on doing the best I can.
Awesome. Sounds good, man. How about you tell me about how did you get involved with Whitesnake in the first place? How did that come about?
Well, as soon as I heard they needed somebody, I thought, well, there's a good opportunity. That's a great guitar band. And basically I got an audition due to Foreigner's manager, Phil Carson, contacting David for me. I had filled in for Mick Jones when he was sick in Foreigner in 2011, and I kind of did it under, I guess, grinding circumstances. I only had 24 hours to get the set together. I learned the set, and this is when Night Ranger was still opening for Foreigner, so I was going on 24 hours notice and playing with Night Ranger right before I went on with Foreigner, having just learned their set in a day. So it made a lasting impact on Phil, and Phil was kind enough to reach out to David and got me an audition, and things went well.
And that goes back to exactly what you were saying. You put in that work, and then you get where you want to be in the end. Yeah,
I think there's a lot of people that would have taken the Foreigner thing, for instance, and just gone like, no, because a day I'm going to go out there, I'm going to sound bad, I'm going to look stupid. Like, thanks, but no thanks. So it's kind of taken these opportunities that present themselves that you go for and do the best you can with them, and they lead to things, and you never know what. You never know where they're going to take you, but as long as the hard work is put in, it seems to take care of itself.
Was there ever a moment like that for you, where you thought maybe it wasn't going to be music, it wasn't going to be guitar, you thought it might be something else?
Not really. There was a whole period where I did like a lot of guitar teaching, where I used to teach over 70 students a week back when I lived in the Chicago suburbs. And there was a period there where I thought, like, man, is this ever going to go anywhere? Like, am I just spinning my wheels here? Is that what's happening? But not seriously. I never got close to doing anything else.
We're glad you landed where you did.
Thanks. Well, hey, me too. So life is good, but you don't necessarily need to be in a rock band to have life be good either. It's a lot of it is outlook and just making sure you're doing the best you can every day.
Fair enough, man. Well, I know you said you're not big on favorites, but I'm going to do this to you. A lot of people are going to be traveling to Grand Forks from around the province, around Canada. Do you have any go-to travel songs, travel playlists, crucial?
Not really. It's always kind of what music I have coming up next, whatever set of music I'm going to be playing next. And so for Whitesnake right now, we're adding a few songs for the headlining shows coming up and working on those. And then after that, I'm going to be touring Australia with Cher this year. So there's some songs added for that I don't know yet and working on that. But there is kind of an amusing story about Rhett Beach, who plays guitar in Whitesnake, and Michael Devin, our bass player, and myself being in the back lounge. And we just kind of each will Bluetooth a song of our choice on the personal device through the system back there. And we got on kind of a smooth rock or a light rock kick for a little bit there. And it was pretty funny. Every once in a while, Tommy Aldridge would just open the door and look at us like, what the hell is wrong with you guys? We're just rolling down the highway. We're in Whitesnake, and we've got Christopher Cross playing or something.
That's hilarious. It sounds like you guys have a lot of fun then? You guys have more crazy stories?
We do. I have to say it's a lot of laughs being in Whitesnake. There's a lot of really funny guys in the band, and we got a good mix of guys. I mean, our keyboard player's from Italy, so it's just a completely different take on everything that's happening when we're going around the United States or going to Canada. He's never been there, so it's cool. And then you've got guys like Tommy Aldridge, who obviously is a legend, played with Ozzy in the heyday, and Black Oak, Arkansas, and played with Whitesnake in the heyday in the 80s. So we run the gamut, but we all get along, and humor is definitely the common thread. I mean, it's lots of laughs with us.
Yeah, that's important, man. That's always important. What do you think you've learned from Whitesnake, or really anybody that you played with?
It's hard to put a finger on it. It's just kind of doing the best you can with every scenario and roll forward with all these little things that you grab. And nobody bats 1,000, and I definitely don't. But I do my best to do the best I can to keep the other people around me happy, not just myself. I think it's a big part of it. Always keep, know your place, people will say, but that sounds like you're being intimidated or something or beaten down. But it's understanding, like I'm here to make David happy, make the other bandmates happy, and hopefully have great things happen for myself. And there's tons of room in Whitesnake for everybody. David's really great about making sure that everybody is able to express themselves and play the way they like to play. And so I'm enjoying the time for sure.
That's good, man. And is there anything else that you still feel you need to do or people you still need to perform with, bands you still have to see live? Is there anything left like that for you?
I'm just going to keep going. I feel like I'm playing with house money a little bit at this stage of the game. I came from a small suburb of Chicago that you really weren't supposed to make it out of there, quote unquote, make it, which whatever that is. But I feel like most of where I am shouldn't really have occurred anyway. So my thing is I like to be around positive people, work with talented, positive people. And so anybody that fits that bill, I'm into making music with and moving forward and working hard and seeing where it takes me.
Awesome. And many people, including Gene Simmons, who, of course, as we said, is going to be performing at CanadaFest, have said that rock is dead. How do you feel about that?
I think that if I had the immense success that Gene Simmons had back in the 70s, I can understand why it feels that way to him. But for me, it feels very much alive to be able to get out in front of 10,000 people a night right now out here with Foreigner and play my guitar, or you look at Journey and Def Leppard playing for 20, 30,000 people a night, or the Foo Fighters doing what they're doing, similar numbers. I don't think you can say it's dead, but I understand where he's coming from, that probably comparatively, if you go back to Kiss at their zenith, that was probably insane what was going on back then and the way the world felt. So I understand where he's coming from, but it doesn't feel dead to me.
That's good. The world is always changing at the end of the day, but change doesn't have to be scary, I guess.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, I said the world is always changing at the end of the day, but change doesn't always have to be scary.
Right, exactly, exactly. For me, it's more the way I look at everything that's happening is it's a daily philosophy of trying to be productive. I try and be productive and do something positive every day, and if for young musicians, that's the way they should approach it. And the money thing comes and goes. I've played gigs for free. I've played gigs where there was more people in the audience than more people on stage than there were in the audience, literally. So, but I still enjoyed it and had fun. It just comes down to being productive, and all those productive moments add up and present bigger things to you.
That's awesome, man. Do you have like a nightmare story, like one of those times where there's more people on stage than in the audience where it wasn't good, or has it all been positive for the most part?
Like I said, there's been a lot of those. I feel like I've had a lot of really probably it's hard for me to recall like any specific ones that would be witty or entertaining, but there's definitely lots of grinding moments that go into a music career for sure. And that's probably more of the modern model, like then back when Gene Simmons was founding Kiss, where there was opportunities for bands to get plucked and immediately become superstars, or even that, there was a lot of hard work that went in for them. But it was certainly easier back then to become a huge band than now. If you're starting out a band now trying to break a band, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to think about it. For me, that's why I feel more comfortable putting myself out there as a side band, and I can release my own music and my own CDs and not feel that weight or pressure of this has got to pay the bills. This has got to pay the bills.
Exactly.
I can just kind of release the music I want to release and not worry about the financial end of things, and then play guitar for other people.
And that's important, I think.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Joel, for your time today. You've ticked all my boxes, man. I think that's all the material I need, unless there's anything specific you've got to say. A message for the people, if you will.
Looking forward to seeing you.
Awesome. Thank you again, Joel.
Cool. Thank you.
For sure. You have a great day.
All right, you too.